Now this is a good tasting paint. Oh, God. Oh, hey, buddy. It's your old pal Scott, and this is Let's Talk Tabletop. This week, I was doing a lot of painting for Shorehammer. As you can see in the background, I've got a mess in my shed getting ready for Shorehammer this week. And I was thinking to myself, is this paint edible? I've discussed it many times with my friends in the past, and a lot of people will sharpen their brush with their mouth, and I always said, you may not want to be putting that paint residue in your mouth. And a couple people have even said, this is my favorite paint color, or this is my favorite tasting paint color. And everyone seems to have their own specific type they like. So it got me thinking, should I eat paint? And should you eat paint? Well, let's see here. Here's Zerus Purple. Let's try it. Nah. I think I've had worse. Yeah. Actually, it wasn't that great. Ugh. Look, it actually tasted pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie to you there. Let's try this one. Oh, this is a good one. Light orange from Vallejo. Now this, my friends. Oh, I shook it up. No, I didn't. Now this is a good tasting paint. Oh, God. Oh. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to say it tastes pretty good. But actually, my eyes are watering. So a lot of painters will sharpen their paintbrushes with their lips. And of course, there's paint residue on that. Now, you're assuming that the paint that you're using nowadays is not going to be toxic or harmful to you, but there's no guarantee for that, actually. If you look at acrylic paints, whether it be Games Workshop or Vallejo or Army Painter, all of them, well, the Army Painter actually says it's non-toxic. It actually says that on the label. Games Workshop paints do not say that they are non-toxic. And Vallejo does not say non-toxic either. But Games Workshop and Vallejo and Army Painter all say that they are ASTMD 4236 certified or compliant. And you're like, what's that mean to me? And at least that's what I thought. I thought, what does this mean to me? And then when I take a look at my generic paints, my Liquitex Basics from Michaels that we use to paint terrain with, they also, on the back here, say ASTMD 4236 compliant. Interesting. They also do not say non-toxic. So if it's ASTMD 4236 compliant, does that mean non-toxic? Because why does Army Painter say that they're compliant with it and they're also non-toxic? Well, I actually did a bit of a deep dive into ASTMD 4236, and I will tell you if you can eat paint like I just did, and whether or not I need to go to the hospital now. ASTMD 4236 is a regulation stating that all art supplies in the United States need to be labeled if they are toxic or not. They need to label any toxic ingredients. So, at first, I was thinking to myself, well, Games Workshop says it's compliant, but it doesn't have any toxic ingredients listed, but it's also not labeled non-toxic. So what exactly does that mean, and should I have just eaten that? So what exactly goes into your typical acrylic paint? Now, of course, every brand, make, and model may be a little bit different, but typically, it's about 40% water, it's about 30% polymer, and it's about 6% or so of pigment. Now, that doesn't add up to 100%, but I also couldn't find out what the other percentages were, so I don't know what to tell you there. Now, a polymer is a general term for a compound that is used as a binding agent for many different ingredients. In acrylic paints, they can use resin, they can use synthetic organic compounds, or they can even use plastics as polymers to hold in the water and the pigments and all of that. Most toxic ingredients in acrylic paint give off a lot of fumes. You'll notice that our hobby paints don't smell very bad. They almost have no scent at all. Whereas if you're painting with exterior paints, exterior acrylic paint gives off a lot of fumes, and it's because it's got toxins in it that you definitely should not be eating. Exterior acrylic paint, like for the outside of your house, contains a lot of fungicides and things like that you definitely should not be eating. I can assure you that. But our acrylics that we paint models with certainly don't have fungicides in them. I was eventually able to find out on a industrial website that the Citadel paints actually are all non-toxic. But that doesn't mean that for all brands of paint, even though they are ASTM certified or compliant, it doesn't mean that all of them are going to be non-toxic, and it mostly happens to be the pigments that make them toxic. So some things that use cobalt, the cobalt's very toxic, so some things that use cobalt could be very toxic. And they're not really required to make non-toxic paint. If you buy some random paint off the shelf, it does not mean that it's going to be non-toxic. So you want to watch out for that. But having said that, should you be eating this paint? Well, officially, it is non-toxic, but what exactly does non-toxic mean? Non-toxic means that it's not going to outrightly kill you via skin contact or eating it. So, I would suggest not eating the paint because we don't know what they're using as a polymer. We don't know what they're using as pigments. It may be non-toxic, but that doesn't mean it's not going to make you sick, and it is not intended for human consumption. Now, there are food-grade paints that they use on cakes and things like that. That would be fine to eat, but it probably doesn't taste that great. So, in conclusion, no, I should not have eaten those two paints earlier, and that even though they're non-toxic and I will probably be fine, I should not have consumed them, and neither should you. Oh, wait. Oh, no, actually, I mixed up these paints ahead of time. There's no way I'm guzzling that much light yellow Vallejo paint. This one is actually mustard with red food coloring in it until I got the right consistency and color. The Zerus Purple is actually creamer to make a base. This is for you at home wanting to make your own fake paint. It's creamer from coffee creamer as a base, and then I added blue and red food coloring to match this color. So, one was creamer and one was mustard. So they did not taste that great. And matter of fact, I found out that dye, even though it's food grade dye, which is kind of like a paint, food grade dye tastes awful in high concentrations. So probably don't want to eat that either. But I just want to let you know, I'm not quite that stupid, and no, I'm not eating paint. Hey, you've made it to the super secret section of the video. Thank you so much for watching the whole thing. And if you could make a comment in the comment section and tell me what your favorite flavor of paint is. And do you actually eat the paint? I've had some gamers tell me before that they do have specific flavors of paint that taste better. Specifically corn red, which I believe I have right here. This is corn red. I am not tasting this. Not on camera, not for money. But I've been told corn red tastes pretty good. So in hobby progress, being that this is the super secret section of it, I am in the middle of painting this for Shorehammer. Been painting a lot of terrain. And that's about it. Shorehammer starts day after tomorrow. And I am very busy with last minute things for Shorehammer. Now, I am going to have a video for you next week about the making of Shorehammer, which is my 4-day wargaming convention. And I think you guys would be interested to see the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes into it. And it is a lot of work, let me tell you. But I love it, and I look forward to it every single year. So, for those of you who just went to Shorehammer by the time this video comes out, it was so great to see you, I'm sure, except that one guy. But the rest of you, you're awesome. Thank you to my Patreon patrons. I greatly appreciate you. And you can support the show via Patreon. Supporting the show also is subscribing, liking, sharing, and commenting. And please let me know what your favorite flavor paint is.